Within sketches themselves, there's quite a few entities to work with. If I create a sketch on the front plane, we can go over all the entities here. In the last video, we covered lines and circles. Those are two that can be added in. There's also a rectangle tool, and you'll notice that there's a pull down as well as the same options over here on the left. So we can choose which kind of rectangle we want to create. For example, a corner rectangle is dragged out by the corner there. Center rectangle, you select the center and the corner point. A 3-point corner rectangle involves setting a line and the corner. 3-point center rectangle allows you to select the center, that half distance, and a corner. And finally, the parallelogram. So I'll go ahead and highlight over these just by clicking and pulling a window over, and go ahead and delete those out. Now within the line tool, there's also a pull down for a center line. And this is the same as a line, except it comes in as dashed, as you see. And this is what's called a construction geometry. And what a construction geometry is it allows you to create any sort of geometry within the part. So I can use this as, let's say, the side of a rectangle. But once I go to create a feature, it'll ignore the center line as part of the geometry. I can do the same with a circle. I can bring it in and change this to a construction geometry. And then I can go in the circle pull down as well, and I could also define a circle by its perimeter. Next down from the rectangle tool is a slot tool. There's also several ways you can create a slot here. The straight slot, a center point slot, and two different kinds of arced slots there. There's also a tool for creating ellipses, as well as a partial ellipse and a parabola. And there's a tool called the Spline Tool and several other curve tools along with the Spline Tool. And if you work with a lot of surfacing or lofts, you'll tend to use this feature a lot. The Spline Tool allows you to create a fairly robust curve using multiple spline points. And then there's an arc tool, and there's three kinds of arcs here. The center point arc, I can choose the origin, for example, as the center point, and then create an arc from that. Then the 3-point arc, and the last is a tangent arc, and the tangent arc requires a sketch line or a sketch arc to be added to, because it's going to go in tangent to whatever line you select. Another way to access the tangent arc is if you're inside of a line using the click-click method. You can press A to create a tangent arc, or you can actually bring the cursor back to the last point and it'll create a tangent arc as well. There's also a fillet tool and a sketch chamfer tool. So if I bring in a rectangle here, I can fillet the corners. And it'll give the same dimension to all the entities that I list at once. And then if I create a new sketch fillet and choose out edges once again, it'll apply that same dimension to all of the ones I select for this selection set. And there's the sketch chamfer tool as well. And that'll just create that chamfer at the edge there. And you'll also notice when I deleted out those sketch lines that now there's these relation boxes that are here in brown. A brown relation box means a dangling entity. It means because we deleted it out, it doesn't know what to refer to anymore. So we can just go ahead and delete those out as well. There's also a point tool. If we want to place out multiple points in space or on a sketch entity, you can do that as well. And there's quite a few reasons to do that and quite a few uses for the sketch point. And lastly, among the entities you can create are the text and the Polygon tool. The text tool requires you to have a reference line or reference arc. And then you can use that line to create text. As well as change the size of that text. And the last tool here is the Polygon tool. You can use it to create different equilateral polygons. In this case, the number of sides was set to 6, but we can set it to anything here that we want. For example, I can create a triangle. Or we can even create a 20-sided shape if we want. And you'll see the relation it adds in there is patterned, so it keeps all these sides the same size.